Hello, everybody. I think, let me take this off. I think most of you know me. My name is Justin Okamoto, and I always just introduce myself very simply. I am a son of God, and that's about it. As long as you know that, I think that's the most important thing. And that doesn't make me special. That just makes us all the same, right? We're all brothers and sisters and sons and daughters of God. That's the most important thing about who we are. And none of my history, none of my background, none of that actually matters in the end. In the end, what really matters is that I am your brother, and you're my brothers and sisters, and we are one family under God, and I'm really grateful to be in front of you all. I have a request. How many of you know this is my last sermon? Do you know that this is going to be my last sermon? Who knows that? Okay, so most people know that. Okay, so because it's my last sermon, I really want to ask something. Can you do something for me? Is that okay? 私のためになんかやってくれてもいいですか？大丈夫ですか？ I want to ask, I want you to think about, what is God feeling right now in this room? And think about, how does God want us to be together in this moment, today? What I see is, we're a family, but the truth is we don't always act like a family. Do you know what I mean? We don't always act like a family, even though we say we're a family a lot. But for just today, I want us to at least make some effort, like we are a family. Not for me, but for God, because that's what God wants. And so what I want to ask, I believe family likes to be close together. Okay. I believe family likes to be close together. And right now I feel like you're all so far away. So I want to ask, is it okay if we stand up and we just move a little bit closer? Is that okay? If everybody could just stand up and just move a little bit closer. Thank you, Jen. That's perfect, right where you are. Just move up a little bit closer. Let's be close together as a family. Yes, you too, Kazuma. You can be as close as you want. I know there's COVID and everything, but I believe the power of God and God's love will protect us. And we also all have masks on, so that should help too. So, yeah, thank you. Actually, I don't even like this separator. It really, I feel so separate from you. Like I'm in a little box. That's not where I want to be right now. So I don't know. Should I leave this box? Should I be close? Or should I protect you all from COVID? I'll for your sakes, I'll stay here. But today I wanted to share, basically, I wanted to share my story about coming to Japan and how I feel God has loved me so incredibly by being here in this country of Japan, has taught me some incredible lessons living in this country, and I just wanted to share from my heart to you. Is that okay if I just share from my heart? No script, just share. Is that okay? Thank you. 大丈夫ですか？心からシェアしてもいいですか？大丈夫ですか？ So, can we go to the next slide? So I want to just share, because some of you never heard why I came to Japan. I came to Japan after working as an assistant pastor in the Belvedere Family Church in New York for about 3 years. I also worked in the CARP headquarters in America for 1 year. And I was doing very well in America before I left. Many people knew who I was, and I had a lot of friends, a lot of people that I would consider family, people that I really loved so much, and they really loved me so much. I had a home there with my wife. We really made like a home in the community. But I felt really strongly one day that I needed to come to Japan. And it was a very sudden time. I remember I just came home from school. I was still a university student at the time, and I sat down with my wife and I just said, let's move to Japan. And she looked at me like, are you serious? You want to move to Japan? Why would we move to Japan? But I felt so strongly, I made a promise to God and to parents about 2 years before that I was going to live in 3 countries in my lifetime. Because True Father said you have to live in 3 countries to experience different cultures and love these different cultures. And so I lived in Korea for 1 year. I lived in America, of course, and then I felt I need to go to Japan as well. And also one thing that really moved me was I attended this Global Top Gun workshop, and this was, I think, 2014, and during that time, True Father's Songhwa ceremony, they showed a video of Japanese missionaries going out into the world. I don't know if you remember that video, but there was this one time where the Songhwa ceremony, the video was focused on Japanese missionaries going out into the world and how much they sacrificed for the world. And I reflected on that, and I realized like how much actually Japan did for my life and did for my family. I'm half Japanese myself, so my father, he's Japanese and he lived in America. But so many of my friends in America, they're half Japanese. Their parents, one of their parents are Japanese. What it is today because of the blood, sweat, and tears of Japanese members, actually. And you could say that for most of the movement in the world, that it was built off of the blood, sweat, and tears of Japan, Japanese members, the missionaries who went out to the world. And during that time I felt, but I also know that Japan has suffered a lot, as the mother nation, especially with, the donation providence. And I heard many stories of second gen being angry and resentful. Their parents, had to sacrifice so much. And I felt, those second gen, they suffered so that I didn't have to suffer. They didn't know me. But my life in America was, in a sense, so simple, so easy, And those second gen in Japan, they suffered for me. And so I felt, how is this going to end? Someday Japan's suffering, Japan's sacrifice has to end someday, I felt. And I felt, how is that going to happen? And I felt, it's got to be the children's responsibility. Because the mother is never going to stop giving. Parents, they never stop giving. But the children have to eventually grow up and stand up and say, enough's enough. I will take care of you now. And you just rest. You just rest. You've done enough already. And so I felt so strongly at that time, as a product of the elder son nation of America, I had to do something. And so I didn't know what I was doing. I couldn't speak Japanese, but I decided I'm going to go to Japan. I'm going to move my family. I'm going to move from my parents, and I'm going to start a new life. And can we go to the next slide? And I'll be honest, my expectations were maybe unrealistic a little bit. I came to Japan, as I mentioned, after being an assistant pastor, and I had some connections in Japan. I knew Motoyama Kaicho, who was the leader of CARP at the time. I think he's still the leader. He might be still the leader of CARP. I knew him a little bit through a workshop, and I was connected through CARP because I was working at the headquarters. And so I asked him if I could work with CARP at the time. And he said yes, he would let me, and I stayed in a CARP center for about 6 months. And my expectation was like, okay, I'll learn Japanese in like 3 months, and then I'll be able to give sermons in Japanese, and I'll be able to share my testimony in Japanese, and I'll be really able to connect with the Japanese members, and it'll be so great. And they'll totally understand my heart and where I'm coming from, and it's just gonna, it'll take 2 years. That was my expectation. It'll take two years to really make a big impact on the Japanese movement. But the reality was a little different. Can you go to the next slide? The reality was, as I mentioned, I didn't speak any Japanese. I knew how to say, arigato, gomenasai, doitashimashite. That was about it. And so I arrived at the CARP Center, and I was immediately hit with the reality. I can't communicate with these people. I can't understand them, and I can't share my heart with them. They don't even know why I'm here. I'm just this person living with them who just suddenly showed up to them. They have no idea why I wanted to come to Japan. They have no idea how I wanted to serve this nation. And so it was a real struggle in the beginning. And I found myself just doing anything I could to serve, to give. And the only thing I could actually do at the time was kitchen staff. And so I went to a CARP workshop, and I staffed for, I think it was a 7-day workshop. And they asked me to be a kitchen staff, and this was new for me because I was used to being the person on the stage, lecturing. I was used to being the person that everybody sees and everybody praises. And then I was kind of this person invisible in the kitchen. And I couldn't even help cook. I couldn't even help cook because I didn't understand the instructions they were giving me. I tried to cut the vegetables, and they said, no, this is wrong, this is wrong. And I said, please just do dishes. I said, okay, I'll just do the dishes. So I was just doing dishes this entire 7 days. And it was difficult, I'll admit. I didn't take it very easily. There were many times I was feeling sorry for myself. I thought for myself, Justin, you were this great lecturer that so many people loved in America, and now you are like servant of servants. You're back into the kitchen, and I felt sorry for myself, and I'm not proud of that. I'm not proud of the way that I behaved, or the way that I thought. But the way that I was able to overcome that, can we go to the next slide, was just going to God. I remember I was in the kitchen and I was washing dishes, and I wanted to listen to music. And I wanted to listen to Hyojinim's music, this rock music, this metal music. But the head chef, they call him the chef, right, didn't want me to play that kind of music. And I was so upset. I said, this is Hyojinim's music. Why is it wrong that I'm playing Hyojinim's music in the kitchen? I want some energy here. But I couldn't say anything. I couldn't speak Japanese. She couldn't speak English. And so I just felt this person, I cannot understand this person. This person doesn't understand my heart. And so I just felt so strongly like I need God right now. I really need God right now. If I don't have God right now, I don't know what I'm going to do. I might leave this workshop. I might get just resentful. I might just say, I don't like this chef person who turned off my music. I don't like this person. I never want to talk to this person again. But something told me, go to God. And so even though I was in the kitchen, I just said to the leader at the time, I said, I need to pray. I know it's time to cook. I know that I'm not supposed to be going to the prayer room right now, but I really need to pray right now. And she said, okay, go. And so I prayed to God, and I just tried to understand why God wanted me to be in this kind of situation right now. And I just thought, anytime I try to think about my situation, and if I'm struggling, I try to think about, well, how did true parents go through this kind of similar situation, even greater than my suffering? true parents went through incredible suffering. And I thought about the time when True Father was in Danbury prison, and I thought about, like, how can I complain about the situation I'm in? True Father, he's the Messiah, and he was sent into this prison for longer than a year to scrub toilets and wash dishes and go to the lowest of low position. And I thought about, but how did Father, how did he handle that? And I'd like to read scripture. The next slide. This is actually from True Mother, describing about True Father's, how True Father was in Danbury when he was going to Danbury. It says, "When Father left for Danbury, I saw him in utmost determination. Once Father saw that imprisonment was his destiny. At that time, Father forgot about himself and thought only about one thing: how to comfort Heavenly Father and redetermine himself to bring, under the circumstances, the best kind of victory he can to him." And so, even though Father went through such tremendous difficulty, he was going to prison. Any one of us would have thought, this is terrible. This is terrible. But Father, when he realized, I'm going to prison, he immediately thought, how can I offer this to God? How can I offer this as, an indemnity condition for God to save the world? And then I thought, I thought about, Father's poem that he wrote. If we can go to the next slide. The Crown of Glory, where he says, "When I doubt people, I feel pain. When I judge people, it is unbearable. When I hate people, there is no value to my existence. Yet if I believe, I am deceived. If I love, I am betrayed. Suffering and grieving tonight, my head in my hands. Am I wrong? Yes, I am wrong. Even though we are deceived, still believe. Though we are betrayed, still forgive. Love completely, even those who hate you." And so what I understood through this poem is that it's not like Father or Mother. It's not like they don't have any emotions. It's not like they don't go through ups and downs. They're human. Father felt so betrayed sometimes. He felt so hurt by people sometimes. But he chose to love. He chose to have faith. He chose to believe again in the people that doubted him. And when I remember True Parents, and I remembered God, and I prayed to God, and I just cried, and God comforted me. And God said, there's a reason for this, so that I could understand more about God's heart, about True Parents' heart. And after that workshop, I really felt that God gave incredible blessing. Okay, so yeah. Radio wasn't working. Okay, いや、日本語必要な方、後ろに翻訳通訳やってます。Is that okay? Okay. Okay. 紳士、大丈夫ですか? So, God really, after going to God, kind of surrendering to God's will, that amazing blessing happened. And for me, that amazing blessing, can you show the next slide, was meeting the Nishi family. After about 6 months in the CARP Center, learning Japanese and really serving in this kind of humble position, I felt it was time for me to leave. And I was looking for a place to serve. I was looking, where can I serve people? And that was when I met, I came to an IFA service, and I met Nancy, and I met Aiko. And I remember very quickly, I was thinking, okay, like, oh my gosh, these are good people. Like, how can we organize something? How can we do something? And I think I asked Nancy, like, almost right away, can I give a sermon sometime? And even though Nancy didn't know me, I don't think you knew me very well, but even though she didn't know me, she gave me a chance to give a sermon. And that was my first time in Japan that I could actually publicly share about why I came to Japan and my vision for being in Japan. And then after that sermon, I talked to Nancy, and I asked her, I'd like to do a workshop. So a workshop for the youth. And Nancy was like, oh yeah, that sounds great, you know, why don't we talk with Aiko, Nancy's daughter. And so we went to lunch together. And I'm sitting there, it's just myself and Aiko and Nancy, and I'm talking about my experience creating workshops in America. And I said, oh yeah, you know, it's very interactive, and people really experience God's love, and it's so amazing. And as I'm sharing this, I'm looking across from me at Aiko, and she just like has no reaction. She's like not even looking at me. Like, I'm like, what's going on with this girl? Like, I'm giving her my, you know, my vision, my heart, and I get nothing. So her face was nothing like the picture that you see here. Just this is not that time. But I was lucky, actually, because I am somebody who doesn't really understand people's feelings so much. And so I didn't really understand Aiko's feelings at the time. I thought she was sick or something. But later on, she told me that she thought I was a little bit crazy, that I was a little bit naive for thinking that anybody would want to show up to a workshop. Yeah, but we did a workshop. And I worked together with Aiko. We found some staff. In our first workshop, we had about 12 staff and 2 participants. But we did it. Can we show the next slide? Yeah, so that was a picture up there of our first workshop. And you can see Yoshio and Seika's there, and you know, Aiko, my wife, and quite a few people who have left Japan now. They came to that workshop, and we had a really wonderful time. But I really felt that it was through this victory, even though it was we could say it was a small victory, but it was a victory. And through that, Aiko really began to trust me, you know, as an elder brother. Also, Sister Irina, she really started to trust me, and people started to want to work with me to do these kind of youth activities. And so we started to do more activities. We did a summer camp. Again, that year we did another workshop in the spring. I think we had 3 workshops that year. And it was growing and growing and growing. And you know, just you know, last year we also had a family camp where Haruo and Luke, that was where I met Haruo and Luke. And just, you know, these amazing experiences. And you know, even though it was difficult in the beginning because, you know, nobody understood like what I really wanted to do. But, you know, looking back, like it's so amazing when we take some courage and we just go for something. We have faith in God that God will guide us. You know, now I have this amazing tribe, this amazing community, you know, where my wife and my son, they got to grow up. You know, my son got to be born into this community and make friends. And it's just such a beautiful blessing, you know, to have that. And then further on, you can go to the next slide. You know, we went beyond that, you know, beyond just working with the youth, really starting to work, you know, bridging the first generation and second generation gap, you know, starting to work with providential organizations like YSP through the Multicultural Exchange Festival, which I had the blessing to MC a couple times, and I was also given the opportunity to even speak in front of ambassadors to Japan. And you know, we created this amazing unity between generations. You know, we started a prayer call every single day, I remember. And I remember during that time I felt, I could listen to stories of my elders. And I remember, Ernest really sharing his heart on those calls. And, I really realized what a wonderful brother he is during those calls. And, every time I have an opportunity to talk to one of our first generation members, I realize actually there's such warm and loving, good people. And sometimes, at second gen, we feel like we have to put up a wall between us and first gen. We feel like they don't understand us, and we don't understand them very well. But, I just want to give an example of, this picture right here, this brother Nick. He's somebody that I really didn't understand in these 4 years. I actually thought he didn't like me for the longest time. I thought he had something against me. Until I had an opportunity just to sit down with him and talk. And just to listen to what he wants, and his vision, and we really got to unite together. Like, I got to feel like, he's like my father. And I'm just feeling so blessed to meet these people. I have these people in my life. And it was all possible because anytime there was a difficulty, anytime I felt like this person doubts me, or this person doesn't understand me, or I don't understand them, or I'm having trouble loving this person, the thing that worked for me was always going back to God, to pray, ask God, how do you see this person? Go back to, this is my brother, this is your son, this is somebody with an original mind, with love in their hearts, someone that I need to forgive, someone that I need to love. And so, I want to share a little bit about what God taught me in these past 4 years. I can't say that I came here and I accomplished everything that I wanted to do in Japan. I really wanted to come to this nation, and I wanted to speak to the Japanese members, actually. I wanted to share with them my heart of how grateful I am to them. I wanted to tell them how sorry I was for their suffering for my sake. I wanted to go around all of the prefectures of Japan, and I wanted to let them know that, that America and the world hasn't forgotten their sacrifice. And I didn't get to do that. So I can't say that I've accomplished everything, but what I can say is that God taught me incredible lessons this past 4 years that I'll never forget. Can we go to the next slide? One of the things that I really learned during this time is that sometimes in life, we have a goal. We have something that we want in life. For example, I wanted to start, I wanted to do a workshop. I wanted to speak, to Japanese people. Sometimes with my wife, I have a goal, like I wanted to move back to America, right? And can we go to the next slide? Just click one more time. And then somebody comes along, and we feel like they stopped us. They're stopping us right now from getting what we want. Can you click one more time? And we get angry. We get upset. And a lot of times, it's a person that's right very close to us, like our spouse, right? And sometimes I think, oh, she's stopping me from doing God's will. Or somebody else in the community, said they don't want me to do something. And I think, oh, they're stopping me from doing God's will. They are a bad person. They are like Satan. And I don't think I'm the only person that's ever felt this way. Anybody else ever feel like somebody got in your way and you get a little bit upset? Okay, good. So I'm not the only one. But what I realized is that even though somebody gets in the way of my strategy, I may not be understanding God's strategy for my life. That God actually has a strategy going on in my life in the background. Can we go to the next slide? And God's strategy looks something like this, actually. Can you... Yeah. So God puts people in our life, actually, that are difficult for us to love. It's somebody who doubts us, somebody who doesn't think the way we think, doesn't understand the world the way we think, or we don't understand the way that they think. There's some disconnect. And we think this person is like my enemy. This person is blocking me from doing God's will, from doing what I know is right. But actually, God put that person in our life. And why is that? It's because God actually has a different goal than us. God's goal is for us to grow our hearts. God wants us to become people that can love like God. Why is that important to God? Because only when we become like God can we fully resonate with God's love. God wants more than anything for us to experience His deep, deep love for us. His unconditional, absolute, unchanging, eternal love for us. And we cannot understand that unless we have a heart big enough to understand it. And so this is God's strategy. He puts someone in our life, and can you go one more time? And then we have to grow our hearts to love that person. We have to become more forgiving. We have to become more patient, more loving. We have to go to God, and we have to see God's perspective again. And then we feel so victorious, and we unite, we embrace, but it's not over. It's not over. What happens next? Can you click one more time? God will put somebody else in our life that's even more difficult to love. Thinks even more different than us. And then we have to grow our hearts some more. And then we have to love that person. And we have to find a way to surrender to God, to God's perspective, and we have to love that person. And then it's not over. God will put somebody else in our life. And again, you feel, I cannot understand this person. This person's too different from me. Okay, this person is definitely on Satan's side. We think this. But actually, no. This is God's plan. And this is so we can grow our hearts. So that we can move into a higher realm of love. A realm of love that's closer to God's love. So think about your lives. Think about our lives right now. Maybe there's people in our lives that we're struggling to love. We don't understand them. Maybe there's a generation gap. We talk about generation gap. Maybe there's a cultural gap, a language gap. Or just a man-woman gap. Or just a human being gap. You feel, I can't love this person. But I want you to consider that that person is there for you. And God put that person in your life for you. Because there's no other way for us to grow our hearts. It's like we're going to the gym and we've got to lift the weights to grow our muscles. It's not easy. It takes effort. But there's no other way. God cannot just say, okay, I will lift it for you. He cannot say, okay, I will just do some magic and then you fall in love with this person. If God does it, we do not grow. And so we need these people, actually, to become closer and closer to God and true parents' heart. And actually, I was reflecting on this, and this is very much in line, with what it talks about in the principle. Can you do the next one? If we look at kind of the formula that all providential figures have gone through in their life, what happens? They have some doubt. They have some self-centeredness. They're struggling. They're feeling this pain. Why is this happening? God is cursing me. This person is ruining my life. And then what happens? Those central figures, they have to go to God. They have to remember, God has a plan. God loves me. God would never give me something that's not for my sake. And they return to God, and then they have the strength of God. They have the faith to God, the love of God, and they're able to make that foundation of substance. They're able to win that victory of love, where they embrace, where Jacob embraces Esau, where we embrace that person that is difficult to love. And then that creates this amazing unity and trust. Like the amazing unity and trust that I got to create with Aiko, with Yoshio, with members of IFA Youth and IFA, Chris and Ernest, and we trust each other. We would give our lives for each other. That amazing kind of love and unity. And then God gives us an amazing blessing. That's when God really wants to bless us with a victory. But guess what? It doesn't stay at that point. We have to go back to the beginning. And why is that? Can we go to the next one? I realize we all have to go through this course. We talk about these 8 stages of restoration. These 8 stages. This is the growth that we have to go through. We have to have some experience where individually we make peace with ourselves and with God. We have to have some experience where we make, where we have some difficulty loving a family that's different from us. And then we turn to God, and again, we find unity. And again. And then we have to have an experience where, on a tribal level, on a community level, we feel judged, we feel persecuted, we feel doubted, we feel difficult to love the people around us. But we have to make that foundation of faith. We have to go to God and we have to say, God, I will love these people as your representative. And then we have to go, not just believe in that, but we have to go out there and talk to people and take action and greet and love and say, I love you as my brothers and sisters. We have to do something to create that substantial unity together. And then, again, we're going to face another difficulty. Because we're going into a new level, a new realm of restoration. Where we have to restore people. We have to restore all of the difficulties, the generation gaps that we feel between first and second generation. We have to restore that. We have to restore the language gap, the cultural gap that we feel with people. And we can create some kind of bigger unity. And this doesn't always look like, outside perfection, but this is what's going on inside of our hearts. Okay? What I'm saying is, I'm not saying that I built a tribe of, 430 or anything, but in my heart, God was restoring my heart to love on a bigger level, on a tribal level, to love on the level of people. That now, I can come to Sunday service now. I can come to IFA service and I can see, my brother Ernest, and I can see, Haruo and Luke, and I can greet them, and because they're part of my group, this people, I can embrace them. And now anybody that comes to IFA, anybody that comes here, I can embrace them. I can say, hey, you're a part of my family, because in my heart, I have restored that. And we all have to go through this. If we don't go through this, there's no restoration. So some of us, we get stuck at some level. We get stuck either in the individual level. We never quite get that mind and body unity. We never quite get that level of relationship with God on an individual level. Or we get stuck on that family level. We can't quite see each other as brothers and sisters. Or some people, we get to that level of brothers and sisters, but we're at that level of the tribe, and that's just, it feels so difficult for us. And we go back to that family. Let me just love my close friends, my close family. We don't think about expanding to the next level, the next level, the next level. But that's what God is trying to do in our lives. And so I'm trying to say, if you're experiencing any kind of difficulty in your life, this is exactly how God is working in your life. So, can we go to the next slide? And so this is what life looks like. Again, we've got our goal. I want to become, I thought I want to become a pastor someday in Japan. That was my goal, my strategy. I had this strategy, go to CARP and make relationships there, and then eventually they were going to trust me, and eventually I was going to, be able to talk to bigger leaders, and I had my own strategy, but, we got to let go of that sometimes, actually. We actually have to let go of our way of thinking, our goal. It's like the story of Abraham and Isaac. Abraham had to sacrifice what he was holding on to so strongly was his son that he loved so much. Sometimes we feel, I love this so much, I don't want to let go of this. You know, like this community. I felt a calling to go back to America, but in my heart I was thinking, I don't want to let go of this, God. I love this community so much, I don't want to let go. But God said, you gotta let it go. You gotta go. There's something else for you. And can we go to the next one? And what that is this is God guiding us in our life, because God sees a vision for each and every one of us individually. It's not just true parents that are supposed to become like God. This is every single one of us. God sees that potential in all of us to love like God, to believe like God, to act and behave like God. And no matter how difficult it is to see, God doesn't like to see his children suffer. So that's very difficult for God, but God will never give up on his dream of seeing every single one of his children resemble him. In both mind and heart and body, God will never give up on any one of us. And that's why we go through difficulty. Let me go to the next one. And so what is our responsibility? God knows his responsibility. God will never give up. God will always challenge us. God will always believe that we will take responsibility. He will always love us. That is God's responsibility. What is our responsibility as his children? I want to read from True Mother. I have but one life goal: to live in utmost gratitude. Today, I will be more grateful than yesterday. Tomorrow, I will be yet more grateful. And one more. This is from that same speech. Father gave me a parting word to me at the last moment before he left for Danbury. He said that you must not complain about the situation. Rather, you must live in gratitude about it. When you are completely united in gratitude, this will create a foundation for true, lasting unity. When there is unity, a great miracle will come. Those were Father's last words. So what is our responsibility? Is to live in utmost gratitude. That means no matter what happens, no matter how much we want to hate somebody, no matter how much we want to separate from somebody, we find God's gratitude. We find gratitude to God. Say, God, thank you so much for putting this person in my life. I know you're trying to have me grow. I know you love me so much, and that's why you put this person in my life. And that's really it. If we can just always look for gratitude in every situation, that's how we can overcome. That's how we can know God's vision, God's plan for our life. And when we live in gratitude, what we realize is something very profound. And that is everything that happens in life is love. Everything that happens in life is love, is God's love. Why is the sky blue? We ask God, why is the sky blue? God would say, because I love you. Why are the leaves green? God would say, because I love you. Why is my spouse so difficult to communicate with sometimes? God will say, because I love you. That is the answer. God has given us everything that we need to realize God's love. We have all of creation. God gave it all. But we cannot get that love unless we respond as true object partners with gratitude. God, thank you, thank you, thank you for everything that you've given me. I will do anything I can to give back what you gave me. So, I didn't expect to get this excited during this sermon, but it is my maybe last opportunity to share my heart with all of you, and so I hope that's been okay. And I just wanted to finish actually with a letter that I wrote. It's a letter to Japan. And when I wrote it, actually, I didn't realize that this was going to be a goodbye letter. I was just feeling very grateful for my time. But then I realized later on, wow, this is my goodbye to Japan. At least for now. And so I just want to read it. Moving to Japan has been the best thing I've ever done for my heart. Not because it was easy, because it was hard. Every day I struggled and struggled to love people that think, speak, and act differently from me. And I'm sure they struggled with me too sometimes. There were times I felt fearful. Do they think I'm strange? Do they judge me? I wanted to hug like American, but they only bow here. When we left each other, I felt so sad. So lonely that I couldn't embrace them as their elder brother. I couldn't speak their language, and they couldn't speak mine. But we did share a different kind of language, the language of love. Love is a deeper kind of language that says, I want to bring you joy, no matter what the cost. Eventually, through the commitment to love, barriers broke. And I finally got my hugs. And they also got to experience a love they were not used to. A love that's more direct, more outspoken, the love of the elder son. Not afraid to say loud and clear, I love you. 恥ずかしくないよ. And I got to experience a love that was more subtle, more gentle, and more loyal. I'm forever grateful to Japan. I love you, Japan. I love my Japanese brothers and sisters. I love my Japanese son. And I love my Japanese wife. I hope that I can leave Japan someday, having given more love than I received. But it will be a hard task. Thank you, Japan, for the struggles, for forcing my heart to grow larger and larger. I love you forever. Arigatou gozaimashita. Thank you very much. And I'd like to pray. Sarangan Hanudunin, Sinashin Chanjin Champunim. Our most beloved Heavenly Parents, your parents, I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you for these last 4 years that I could experience this wonderful life with these brothers and sisters here at IFA. They gave me a home, a community, a place where I could feel love and I could feel your spirit. And they gave me a place where I could share my heart. I'm just forever grateful for these people, these brothers and sisters of mine, my aunts and uncles. They've given me something that I can never replace, my heart. I'm just so grateful. Father, I know that there's still so much more to go for us to grow our hearts to become like you, to have that standard of love that doesn't waver, that doesn't break. There's still so much more that we have to overcome as far as our fallen nature, Heavenly Parents. Our perspective, our arrogance. But Heavenly Parents, we know that there's hope. There's hope because we have our true parents. And they've showed us the way. They showed us the way forward through their love, through their words, and through their actions. And your mother is still moving forward without stopping until all of the 7.8 billion people, all of your children, are in your embrace and are restored to your image. So I just want to say I'm so grateful for your mother. And I'm grateful for everything. And I pray that we can live in gratitude, Heavenly Parents, that we can always remember that in the end, after everything that we go through, in the end, all of it is your love. All of it is your love letter to us, this life that we live. And so I'm just so grateful to you, my parents. Thank you for loving us, even though we don't always deserve it. Thank you so much. I pray all this in all of our names. In my name, Justin Cascamago. Bless Central family. Shoot.